Welcome to the Red Pill for Women. Escape the alternative health matrix. I'm Josie, and today I'll be sharing with you the true missing piece, the singular root cause of all chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases. But before we get started, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you haven't already, click the link below for my free 101 course on autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. This is information that no one is sharing with you. You're going to learn why you got your condition, why you haven't been getting better, and most importantly, the science to moving beyond remission and into true healing. Now, today we are talking about that singular root cause. And no, it is not going to be involving any kind of food diet. We're not talking leaky gut. We're not talking Epstein-Barr virus, genetics. We're not going to be doing anything with medication. This singular root cause is the one thing that I addressed, the one thing, and permanently resolved all of my autoimmune disease and chronic illnesses. It's why I am here and healthy today. And this singular root cause, here's the problem. It is something that your doctors and specialists are not trained to address. And the secret is we all share the same root cause. And at the end of this video, I will share that with you. But I want to share a little bit more about my story. Now, in my teens and 20s, I had 8 autoimmune diseases and a host of chronic illnesses. I had conditions like Hashimoto's, I had CVID, eczema, rheumatoid arthritis, depression, anxiety, ADD. And here's the thing. When I went to my doctors and was diagnosed, I was shocked at the lack of information that I was given. When I sat across from them and asked them why I had these conditions, what caused them, they did not have an answer for me. All they could tell me was that these conditions were going to be lifelong and that I could manage the symptoms of it for the rest of my life with things like, diets, medications, supplements. Here it was in my 20s, and they were telling me I was going to have these for the rest of my life. I was heartbroken. I was crushed, thinking that I was going to be a sick person from then on out. It made me lose my dreams for my future. And I felt this deep sense of hopelessness. But there was still something inside of me. I had this like little flicker of a flame that just didn't quite want to settle with that. I knew there had to be something that I was missing and that these doctors and specialists were missing. And here's the thing I knew to be true for me, that while I was getting all of these autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses and getting diagnosed, underneath my skin, underneath where people couldn't see, I was having a very unhealthy emotional state. I was struggling emotionally. And even though I tried to hide it, I knew it was true. And there was something in me that felt there had to be some kind of connection between my unhealthy emotional state and the onset of my autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. And we'll be talking more about the emotional component in this video. But first, let's go into what does chronic illness mean? What really is a chronic illness? And here's the thing. When I was diagnosed with all of my chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases, this is the question I did not ask. I truly didn't really know what a chronic illness meant. And more importantly, I did not know the ramifications of what having them would have for the rest of my life. Because here's the thing, as a child, when I went to my doctors with conditions like sinus infections, strep throat, or ear infections, I was used to going there, them prescribing me an antibiotic, taking it, and within just a few days, getting healthy, no longer having that condition again, and going on with my life. That's what I was used to. So when I was diagnosed with my autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses, when I went to my doctors for those, I thought it would be the same as going to my doctor when I was a kid. I thought they had a true solution. I thought science and medicine really understood chronic illness and autoimmune disease. Here's the thing I didn't get. I didn't understand that alternative and Western medicine and science have no known cure for any chronic illness. I did not know that they did not know and do not know where they truly come from. And I did not get the true ramifications of what chronic illness really meant and what that meant for myself and my health for the rest of my life. Now, a chronic illness, also known as a chronic disease, is defined as one lasting 3 months or more by definition of the US National Center for Health Statistics. They say chronic diseases, and this is important, generally cannot be prevented by vaccines or cured by medication, nor do they just disappear. And what's more, listen to this statistic from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. Because according to the CDC, chronic disease is the leading cause of death and disability in the United States, accounting for 70% of all deaths. 70% of all deaths are caused by chronic disease. What they're saying here is that almost 3/4 of all deaths are because of chronic disease. They go on to say 6 in 10 adults in the US have a chronic disease. So what we're saying there, if you go to the grocery store, you see 10 people, 6 of those people will be currently living with a chronic disease. And they say 4 in 10 have 2 or more. So they are the leading cause of death and disability. And they go on to say the leading driver of our $4.1 trillion annual healthcare costs. 6 in 10 have one. 70% of deaths coming from chronic illness and disease. This is scary. This is highly problematic. And doctors and specialists don't know where they're coming from. Another reason that it's been hard for us as humans to understand that science and medicine don't have solutions and cures for chronic disease is because for a very long time, science and medicine was highly successful with viruses and bacteria. They created vaccines for viruses such as smallpox in the late 1700s. They created the polio vaccine in the 1950s. And even as close as 1995, they had the vaccine for chickenpox. And then came penicillin. Penicillin came around in the 1940s, and penicillin eradicates that bacteria that can cause conditions like gonorrhea, meningitis, pneumonia. These vaccines and penicillin, highly successful breakthroughs in medical science. And what I also want to point out is that these conditions on this left-hand side, these are a malfunction of the body with an external source, meaning a virus or a bacteria coming into the physical body. And again, science and medicine really good at solving those, coming up with vaccines, coming up with antibiotics for those. Now, we need to move to the right side. Here's the problem. Here's just a list of 74 common chronic illnesses with no known cure. First one, depression and anxiety, arthritis, high blood pressure, allergies, migraines, chronic pain, insomnia, hypothyroidism, and ulcers. That's just the top 10 that I put in here. Now, all of these, they could do a list of hundreds. Doctors, both Western and alternative and science, have no known cure. Currently, in this year, have no known cure for any chronic illness or disease. And these are malfunctions of the body without an external source, meaning that the source comes from within the body and they do not understand where they are coming from. And think about this. In all the years of science and research, they have no known cure for any of these. The conditions that 70% of people in the US die from. This is epidemic, and they have no idea. Here's the point that I want you to get. This is really important. That after decades of research and study, Western and alternative medicine have no known cure for any chronic illnesses and diseases that affect the human body. At best, they can only manage the symptoms. They have no known cure. And they do not tell us this. And the problem is they both do Western alternative medicine. All they do is symptom management. Symptom management is managing the symptoms of your condition with no hope of actually resolving it. And examples of symptom management are things like prescription medication, food diets, supplements, and cleanses. Now, this is the red pill. This is the awakening that I want you to have, that there is no magic combination of symptom management, meaning there is no combination of supplements or foods or prescription medication that will ever resolve and heal your chronic illness or autoimmune disease. Symptom management, you can never heal. But here's the thing, like I said, our doctors and specialists do not tell us this. They make us think that they are the ultimate authority on your chronic illness or autoimmune disease. They truly make us think that they know best, when really they have no idea what's causing them and they have no idea how to heal them. And how perfect a chronic illness, an illness that has no known cure, that lasts for someone's lifetime. What a perfect business model, right? It truly is a business based in dishonesty. They are not telling us the truth. Here's another important point that I want you to get. Science and medicine are so far behind when it comes to chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases. They are still looking at each disease and condition separately as a separate and unique disease that needs to be addressed and treated on its own. That's how far behind they are. Meaning, when I have allergies, they say go see an allergist. Or if I have Hashimoto's, I go see an endocrinologist. Or if I have depression, anxiety, or an eating disorder, I go see a psychologist. They have no idea that all chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases, and this is really important, are connected. They don't even know that they could be coming from one singular root cause. That's how far behind they are. They are treating everything uniquely and separately. And here's the thing, we know that they're not looking in the right place, or else 70% of the US population wouldn't be dying right now from chronic illness and disease, which leads me into the same root cause, that this singular root cause, this is a paradigm shift. And I know in the beginning of the video, I said I'm going to share with you the singular root cause, the missing piece of all chronic illness and autoimmune disease. And so we are here, and here it is. This singular root cause, the problem is it's the one thing that you can't study under a microscope. The singular root cause of all chronic illness and autoimmune disease is our emotional state. It's our emotional state. And when we have a chronic illness or autoimmune disease, all that is a sign that we have been living with an unhealthy internal emotional state. And let's define an internal emotional state. My emotional state is the internal experience of how I feel about myself and the world. I'm going to say that again. My emotional state, this is important, is the internal experience of how I feel about myself and the world. Now, our physical body is simply a reflection of our internal emotional state. And as women, we know what an unhealthy internal emotional state that we have, even though we try to hide it. We know how much we beat ourselves up. It's the criticizing that we do of ourselves and others, feeling that we're not good enough, and that inability to make the true changes that we want to have in our life. And our body is just mimicking, our unhealthy body that creates chronic illness and disease is simply mimicking our unhealthy internal emotional state. And so To heal, we have to address the emotional state. It is the singular root cause of all chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases, and it is the suppression of our emotional overwhelm caused by our unhealthy internal emotional state that actually causes the body to break down, create autoimmune disease and chronic illness. And to learn more about the science behind that, please watch my 101 course on chronic illness and autoimmune disease. Again, the link is in the description below. And so I hope you can see that the root cause is not the genetics. It is not the Epstein-Barr virus. It's not environmental toxins. It's not bacteria. I know this from my own experience. When I stopped doing symptom management and I solely focused on my emotional state, all 8 of my autoimmune diseases, my symptoms, and all of my chronic illnesses all naturally healed and self-repaired without the need for supplements, medications, and food diets. It's just the emotional state. And I know this too because that's the only thing I address in my programs with my students, and they all permanently heal too, all of their autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. This is the point that I want to come across. There is one singular root cause, and you address that, all of your chronic illnesses, autoimmune diseases, and symptoms will naturally heal. And again, in my 101 course, I talk about the science behind that. And so we need to address, how does one resolve an unhealthy internal emotional state? And no, it's not going to be going to therapy. I'm going to be doing a video on that too. There's one thing that we need to talk about. It's the reason why we have an unhealthy internal emotional state. And it actually involves a perspective of life that we didn't know we've lived our life from. And it's called camp victim and camp taking responsibility. People with autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses, we have unknowingly been living our life in camp victim. And in order to heal, we have to make the psychological shift into camp taking responsibility. Now, camp victim, if you have a chronic illness or autoimmune disease, this is a perspective that you have unknowingly lived your life from. And camp victim is a passenger seat perspective of life. I'm in the passenger seat. Life is in the driver's seat. We have lived our life feeling like life has happened to us. We feel out of control of our emotional response to life. And we're going through things in life like grief and loss, like breakups, like moves, pregnancy, divorces, marriages, new jobs, and it just piles on us and we become very emotionally overwhelmed. We feel like truly that our unhealthy emotional state and our health is because of life and what life is doing to us. This is called camp victim. This is a powerless way of living. And I know this from my own experience because I lived most of my life from camp victim. And another problem with camp victim, we can't heal because with this perspective, we truly feel like even our autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses, we have no power or control over them. They feel like they're also coming from these external sources like genetics, toxins, bacteria, and foods. And we become trapped in our illnesses, in our emotional state. We become powerless and unable to heal, going around in circles and symptom management with no way out. And so here's the thing. This is the red pill. This is the awakening that I'm so excited to share with you today. It is the choice that we never knew that we had. It's the pathway of living our life that we did not know existed. And it is called camp taking responsibility. And when an individual makes a psychological shift from camp victim, where we have an unhealthy internal emotional state and we have a chronic illness and autoimmune, into camp taking responsibility, where we develop a healthy internal emotional experience and chronic illness and autoimmune disease resolves, it is truly the light bulb moment. It's where we move from the passenger seat of our life into the driver's seat. And with camp taking responsibility, living from this place, I become empowered and in control of my emotional response to life. I realize I can't change what happens in life out here, but I always have power and agency over how I respond. And it's how I respond that determines my emotional state. In this camp taking responsibility, I learned to have healthy and supportive responses to life. I learned that I'm capable. I grow and build my natural resilience. I start to believe in myself and know that I can handle anything that life throws my way. Most importantly, we begin to dream again, meaning we can see our future. We're no longer living day to day, and we feel emotionally capable in our life. With this, our unhealthy internal emotional state resolves, and the physical body picks up on this, heals, and self repairs too. And again, that's all the science behind that is all in my 101 course. And so, truly is making that shift from camp victim to camp taking responsibility. So, what I want you to know today is this: the singular root cause of autoimmune disease and chronic illness, the missing piece, it's the emotional state. And the emotional state, that is the one thing that your doctors and specialists, both Western alternative, do not know and are not trained to address. As long as we're in camp victim, we will always have an unhealthy internal emotional state, and we will continue to have our chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases, doing symptom management, going around in circles. Now, shifting into camp taking responsibility, I resolve my emotional state. My body picks up on this. It mimics it. It heals and self repairs naturally, all on its own. Again, without the need for supplements, diets, or food protocols. What I want you to know, the answer is you. You are the solution. You are the key to your healing. And it simply comes down to a psychological perspective that will re empower you and resolve the singular root cause, which is our emotional state. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this video. And as I've shared, to get started, make sure that you sign up for my 101 course on autoimmune disease and chronic illness. The link is in the description here below. You will learn the basics and the science behind why you have your condition, why you haven't healed, and how to move beyond remission and into true and permanent healing by making that shift from camp victim into camp taking responsibility, working on our emotional state. And if you're ready to take that journey, because here's the thing, all it is education to go from camp victim to camp taking responsibility and permanently heal your chronic illness or autoimmune disease. I have two programs. They're both online, 13-week online educational courses. I have the autoimmune healing program and the chronic illness healing program. Follow both as designed. They will resolve your emotional state and thus allow your body to finally permanently heal without the need for medication, supplements, or food diets and cleanses. And if you're curious about these and curious if you might be a good fit for one of my programs, sign up for a free consultation with me. The link is in the description below. I would love to meet you, learn more about you and your health challenges, and share my message of hope and healing, of working on that singular root cause, which I know from my own experience is our emotional state. All right. Thanks so much and take care.